Whenever you are hearing this, welcome back.
Welcome back to the chaos.
And please do not forget to subscribe right now, because the mess absolutely does not stop, and honestly, neither do we.
No, just kidding. We do stuff. We have to.
We do. We have work tomorrow. We are literally both dentists.
We are. Reality is coming for us, and so is plaque, buildup, and tartar.
Oh my God, so much tartar. It is a never-ending battle.
It really is. We are out here fighting the good fight against gingivitis by day and fighting for reality television justice by night.
I'm taking a massive sip of my Moscow Mule right now. Cheers, babes.
Cheers. I severely need this drink for what we are about to discuss today.
But before we get into the absolute unmitigated chaos of what we just watched, we have to give a massive chaotic shout out to Chelsea Lane and Isabel.
Oh, yes. Thank you both.
They literally slid into our DMs and aggressively demanded that we cover the show. And babes, you already know.
You know we are here for the mess, so of course we are on it.
We are so on it. And a quick side note to everyone listening right now. Once we get our merch restocked, we will reach back out. We gotcha.
Honestly, though, I am questioning our business acumen. We might not be good podcast people.
Wait, why? Do not stress me out right now.
Because why on earth did we let the merch sell out? Like, who is running the logistics here? Are we just wildly incompetent?
I am already having a borderline panic attack about the shipping boxes currently taking over my entire guest room. Please do not make me spiral about logistics.
Okay, I will drop it. Focus on the Moscow Mule.
Thank you. Because, babes, can we talk about something? And it is not even the drinks.
Let's talk about the existential dread.
Yes. We did not know this show was still on the air. 4 seasons. Excuse me.
4. As in, an entire production crew has mobilized, shot, edited, and aired this exact concept 3 separate times before this.
I am spiraling. When Chelsea and Isabel messaged us, I literally had to sit down on my couch and stare at a blank wall.
I thought this entire concept died in the mid-2000s, alongside frosted tips and velour tracksuits, honestly.
That is exactly what I mean. The last time I heard about this show, or anything remotely like it, had to be a lifetime ago.
Time is flying. It is terrifying.
It is making me realize I am getting older, I am aging, I am sitting here thinking about my lower back pain and realizing the golden era of reality TV was 20 years ago.
You are fully spiraling right now. I can see it in your eyes.
I am. Think about it. We grew up in the era of Flavor of Love. We had Flavor Flav handing out giant wall clocks to women named New York and Pumpkin.
Iconic television. Truly foundational.
And we had Paris Hilton and Nicole Richie in The Simple Life, dropping their Louis Vuitton bags in the mud and sincerely asking what Walmart was.
Doing literal farm labor in Prada skirts.
Yes, that was the last time farm life and reality TV intersected in my brain. And now we have this incredibly earnest, wholesome, yet deeply unhinged show about actual agricultural professionals.
How is this still a thing? Like, we went from peak trashy Y2K reality TV, where everyone was in on the joke, to this.
To Hallmark Channel aesthetics with a cutthroat elimination twist.
Watching The Simple Life feels like watching a historical documentary at this point.
It really does. But the fact that this show has quietly been matchmaking farmers while we were completely oblivious is the real crime here.
I feel robbed of 3 seasons of prime mess, I'm not gonna lie.
Me too. But babes, we are confused, we are tipsy, and we are already judging every single person on our television screens. Let's get into the episode.
Oh, we are getting into it. Season 4, Episode 2, Ladies Coming In Hot.
And oh my gosh, they came in hot.
But before we get to the farm arrivals, we have to talk about the absolute bloodbath that led us to this exact moment.
The speed dating massacre, my heart could not take it.
The context here is vital, babes. Because last week, our farmers, Brett Maverick, Braden Pridemore, and Sean Cavanaugh went through an entire village of women in a single afternoon.
A literal culling. It was romantic Darwinism at its finest.
10 minutes. You get 10 minutes to sit across from a strange man in a plaid shirt and convince him you belong in a cornfield forever.
Braden even admitted how tough it was. He said he just had to, go out on a limb.
A limb. He took a chainsaw and chopped off the entire tree.
We have to pour one out for the 12 fallen angels who packed their bags, dragged their suitcases through the dirt, and went right back to the city.
12 women. Gone in an instant.
Paige, Julia, Bruna, Nicolette, Caroline, Faith, Anna Paula, Mackenzie, Autumn, Brooke, Cameron, and Gabriella. We hardly knew you, but we doubly respected your outfit choices.
Mostly. Some of the boots were questionable, but we respect the effort.
So true. But now, the remaining 5 women per farmer are heading to the actual farms.
And to kick things off, the producers engineered an intimate, 24-hour solo date for one lucky lady per farm.
Quote-unquote lucky. Because let's start with Sean and Olivia.
Oh, Sean.
Let me take another sip. Because Sean is 22 years old. He is a farm-to-table produce farmer from California.
Hold on, we need to pause and do the biological math on this immediately.
Please do.
He is 22 years old. He is looking for a wife. His prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for complex decision-making, is quite literally still forming.
It is barely a suggestion at this point.
When I was 22, I was eating ramen noodles out of a styrofoam cup, ignoring my check engine light and trying to do my taxes without crying.
Same. What does a 22-year-old boy even know about the institution of marriage?
He is actively looking for a life partner to share a 30-year mortgage and agricultural subsidies with. He is practically a child.
I was gasping at the screen, but then we see the farm, and suddenly it all starts to click.
The estate.
It is in Santa Ynez, California. It is massive. It is stunning. And he brings Olivia, who is 21 years old from Montana, back to the family home.
Let's unpack this farm, because I was reading the message boards today.
Oh, I love when you bring the Reddit sleuth facts.
People are talking. They are saying his family bought this farm like 6 years ago. There were rumors flying around about a massive corporate settlement or winning the lottery.
Stop it. Really?
Yes, because they have a private zip line on the property. They have a fleet of dune buggies. This is not a struggling family farm praying for rain.
This is inherited wealth. This is pristine coastal California aesthetics masquerading as rustic agriculture.
Exactly. It is an absolute luxury.
The main house is a literal mansion. But then Sean looks at the cameras and says, oh, the girls are going to be staying in the barn with the horses.
Are you kidding me?
I would have turned right around. I would have called an Uber from the driveway.
I would have sued for emotional distress.
But Olivia walks into this barn, smells the hay, sees the horse stalls, and plays it so cool.
She looks around and says, oh, this is very much my vibe. I could see myself living here.
Of course you can, Olivia. It is a multi-million-dollar estate. But this is where the psychology gets so fascinating. Sean sits in his confessional and says his biggest fear is that these girls are going to want the lifestyle, but not want him.
He wants someone to like him for him.
Then why did you bring her to the mansion and put her on a private zip line?
Exactly. It is a trap of his own making.
That makes no sense.
He straps this 21-year-old girl into a harness and shoves her down a cable at 40 miles per hour to see if she is adventurous enough.
I had to laugh. Are these women applying for a husband or auditioning to be a stunt double on an action movie?
I would have sobbed. I would have unclipped the carabiner and walked away.
But Olivia just laughs the whole way down. She passed the physical stress test.
So then they move on to the psychological stress test. They sit down for this deep conversation.
Sean says he is looking for a faith-based girl and that his last serious relationship ended because she wouldn't walk that path with him.
Keep in mind, he is 22. So this last serious relationship was what, his junior year homecoming date?
Literally. But then Olivia drops the line of the century.
They're talking about their long-term goals, their visions for the future.
And she looks at this boy sitting on his massive family estate and says her ultimate end goal is to be financially free.
I shrieked. I paused my television and screamed at the wall.
Financially free. She saw the main house, she saw the dune buggies, and her inner GPS locked onto the target.
She is securing the bag. She did not stutter. She laid her cards right on the patio table.
And Sean just ate it up. He was blissfully oblivious to the real meaning there.
Because right after that, they go in for the kiss.
Oh, God. The kiss. I need a whole other drink just to process the trauma of the kiss.
It is an auditory and visual assault on the senses.
It was so intense, so heavily tongued, right there on the very first date.
The boom microphones picked up absolutely everything. Every slurp, every breath. I was physically cringing.
I had to look away from the screen and stare at my own hands.
I was deeply overwhelmed. They were practically consuming each other's faces.
But you know what? Youth. Hormones. The adrenaline from the zip line. Let them live.
Fair enough. But notice how Sean's date was entirely built around artificial stress tests.
Throwing her down a wire, testing her financial motives.
Well, the producers didn't stop there. We transitioned right from physical stress tests to psychological loyalty tests over in Illinois.
A completely different vibe with Braden and Carson.
Braden, the 26-year-old corn and soybean farmer, he takes Carson, the former Miss Texas, on their solo date to a local rodeo.
I loved this date so much. I am such a sucker for a rodeo.
It was very wholesome.
It felt so country and authentic compared to the California dune buggies. He is wearing his cowboy hat. She is smiling.
Hold on, let me stop you right there. That smile. That is a pageant smile.
Oh, come on, let her be happy.
Do not be fooled by the denim. She has been thoroughly trained for this exact scenario.
You are so cynical.
She knows exactly where the cameras are positioned. She knows how to angle her face. She knows how to play the game of optics.
I mean, I see your point, because she definitely did not waste any time getting down to business.
The rodeo ends, they sit down by the fire pit, and Carson immediately flips the script.
She becomes the interrogator. She puts Braden right in the hot seat about the concept of loyalty.
Which is such a textbook pageant interview question. Contestant number 4. What is your definition of loyalty in a modern world?
But she had a very specific tactical reason to ask it, because Braden pulled a massive wildcard move during the premiere.
He really did. He brought Lauren, the ICU nurse from New York, back to the farm, even though she wasn't originally one of his girls.
She was assigned to talk to Brett.
And Carson was absolutely not having it. She wanted to know why he did that, where his loyalty lies, and how he justifies screwing up the power dynamic on day 1.
And what does Braden do? Faced with a direct question from a woman he likes, he immediately throws his buddy under the tractor.
Brett told me to explore it. I could not believe those words came out of his mouth.
Zero accountability. Absolute zero.
Oh, well, my buddy Brett said if I feel a connection, I should just do it. My guy, you are a 26-year-old grown man.
You own a farm. Own your choices.
Do not use the horse and cattle farmer from Tennessee as a human shield for your roster management issues.
Why do men use their friends to avoid taking responsibility with women? It is absolute red flag rancher behavior.
It shows a complete lack of backbone in that moment.
But Carson just nods, maintains perfect eye contact, and says, "You answered that really well."
I was screaming. Did he? He just deflected.
But whatever, they get their cute little photo booth pictures from the rodeo, and they seem perfectly happy.
For now? But notice the pattern here.
We move from the highly rehearsed pageant interrogation in Illinois straight into forced, uncomfortable romance in Tennessee.
Which brings us to the third solo date, Brett and Cassie.
Brett is 35. He is the oldest of the group, a little more serious, a little more weathered.
He takes Cassie to his family's old hunting cabin.
And the scenery was giving absolute Hallmark movie realness. The golden hour sunset, the ancient trees, the generational cabin. I was swooning.
It was a very nice piece of property, I'll give him that. The staging was perfect.
But then they sit by the fire, and Brett starts talking.
And he completely ruins the vibe. He drops this incredibly strange line about how he reads people through their eyes.
I loved that. I thought it was deeply romantic and intense. Like he is really looking past the surface and seeing into her soul.
Are you joking right now? It sounded like a direct quote from a true crime documentary on a streaming service.
You ruin literally everything romantic.
I read people through their eyes. Sometimes it's intimidating. Like, okay, calm down. Why do men use this faux mysticism to create false intimacy?
It was sweet. He said he looked into her eyes and saw that she was a kind person.
It was weird. And you could tell the chemistry was just off. It was stilted.
Cassie was desperately giving him the green light for a kiss. The signals were flashing neon.
They are sitting by the water. There's a bonfire crackling. There are literal horses grazing in the background. It is a masterpiece of a romantic setup.
And what does he give her? A tiny, tiny little peck? A church peck?
Barely even a peck. Their lips grazed for a microsecond.
And then he plays the "my love language isn't physical touch" card in his solo confessional.
He claims he wants to build an emotional connection first, which, theoretically fair.
But I was watching his face during that entire date, and his jaw movements are so incredibly stiff.
Someone on the Reddit threads said it looks like AI learned how to farm, and I haven't stopped laughing since.
He is a little robotic, I will admit that.
Very guarded. Wait, my phone is buzzing. Let me check this.
What is it?
Isabel just texted me. She said, "Are you guys recording right now? Do not forget to talk about the fridge pictures."
Oh, Isabel, we are getting to the fridge pictures right this very second. Thank you for the prompt.
Because the solitary bliss of the solo dates officially ends and the harem arrives.
The territory wars officially begin.
The other 4 women for each farmer pack their bags, pile into the vans, and head to the country.
Let's start back at Braden's farm in Illinois because the psychological warfare was immediate and ruthless.
Lauren, Brittany, Cameron, and Casey pull up to the farmhouse. They walk into the kitchen looking to get settled.
And what is the very first thing they see staring back at them from the communal refrigerator?
The photo booth pictures. The adorable, intimate pictures of Braden and Carson from their rodeo date.
Plastered right on the fridge, eye level for everyone to see. I was shrieking at my television.
It was brilliant, It was messy, it was calculated, it was 4D chess.
Carson took those photos, walked into that empty house before anyone else got there, and deliberately marked her territory.
It is pick-me behavior at its absolute finest.
Wait, hold on. I am actually going to push back on you here.
Oh, really? Defend the fridge photos.
Let's look at the actual environment she is operating in. You have 24 hours to secure a future in a highly unnatural competitive ecosystem.
Okay, I am listening.
Isn't that just logical resource management? She's establishing dominance because it's a survival trait.
A survival trait.
Yes, it is like planting a flag on the moon before the other astronauts even launch. It is psychological perimeter setting.
Oh, it is absolutely perimeter setting, but it is deeply villainous. It is a calculated move to ice out the competition before they even unpack their bags.
It worked perfectly.
It screams, "Look at me, he already picked me. Do not even bother trying."
It did work because Brittany was immediately triggered. She starts complaining in her confessional right away.
She says Carson has been there for one day and is acting like she has known him forever.
Brittany said it makes everyone else feel like Carson is ahead of them.
Which she is. That was the entire point of the solo date. Carson even said she is not here to make friends.
I do not necessarily trust her intentions with Braden, but I deeply respect the hustle.
Meanwhile, over at Sean's massive estate in California, Emily, Carson, Macy, and Alabeth arrive.
They are getting their suitcases settled in the literal barn, which again I would be complaining to human resources about.
They sit down in a circle with Olivia, and Olivia, without a single second of hesitation, spills the beans entirely about the heavy tongue kiss.
She drops the absolute bomb, and Macy is totally baffled.
She is sitting there blinking, like, wait, you guys kissed with tongue.
The sudden, crushing realization that this is an actual romantic competition just washed over all of their faces in real time.
Because up until that exact point, I think a lot of these women genuinely thought they were just going to a cute farm to drink crisp white wine.
Wear expensive Carhartt jackets, pet a goat, and take aesthetic photos.
But reality hits fast, and it hits even faster when the farmers actually put them to work.
Farm labor. City girls versus country dirt. Let's start with Sean.
He takes his group of girls out to the fields because he has to pick wild produce for his family's restaurant.
Because remember, he is a farm-to-table produce guy. That is his whole brand.
So he hands them wicker baskets and tells them to go wander the property and find wild dandelion, thyme, fennel, and kale.
Macy is thrilled by this. She looks at the camera and says that when she's older, her dream is to be an almond mom with an organic garden.
An almond bomb. She actually sincerely said those words out loud on national television. I cannot process it.
I mean, she was so serious about it.
This is exactly what I mean about the cognitive dissonance of the aesthetic obsession. She does not want to actually farm.
She wants the identity of an agricultural lifestyle.
She wants to be an influencer making organic kale chips in a perfectly lit beige kitchen. She wants the aesthetic without the sweat.
It was a very telling comment about where her priorities are, but while they're out there picking fennel, Sean pulls Alabeth aside.
Alabeth is the 22-year-old hairstylist, and she is visibly, palpably terrified of nature.
She's shaking like a leaf, so Sean decides he needs to crack her shell.
And how does a young farm boy crack a city girl's shell? By playing a duck call hide-and-seek game in the bushes.
The cringe. The absolute soul-crushing physical cringe. I had to take my throw pillow and bury my face in it.
I award Sean the absolute cringe king of the season for this scene alone.
He makes her close your eyes and count to 10, and then he scampers off into the bushes.
And blows this wooden duck call that sounds exactly like a dying crow.
Yeah.
And she has to blindly wander through the brush to find him.
And when she finally finds him, it does not get better. They sit down on a log, and the silence is deafening.
She awkwardly asks him why he is on the show, and he gives this completely rehearsed, dead-behind-the-eyes answer about how hard it is to find a wife at 22.
And Alabeth just stares at him and says, same.
It was painful. There's zero chemistry there. It was like watching two middle schoolers whose teacher forced them to sit together at lunch after a fight.
It really was. But if you want to talk about uncomfortable labor situations, we have to go back to Illinois.
Braden sets up a corn shucking competition for his girls, which is actually a brilliant move.
Put the city girls to work, make it a game, see who complains and who dives in.
Casey and Cameron go absolutely feral. They team up, they're aggressively ripping the husks off this corn.
Casey breaks a nail and does not even care. They are sweating, laughing, and they win by one single ear of corn.
They were incredible. But Lauren, the 29-year-old ICU nurse from New York.
Oh, Lauren, where do we even begin? She flat out refuses to participate.
She looks at the pile of corn and says she is the oldest there, And this is not her vibe.
She says she's more of a sit back and observe girly. And she literally goes, grabs a plastic bucket, and sits next to Braden while the other girls do manual labor.
I could not believe the absolute, unmitigated delusion. She was acting like a Roman empress watching gladiators fight for her amusement.
I am spiraling just thinking about it. She claimed last week that living on a farm is her dream life.
She said her life's ambition is to raise kids on a farm.
But she refuses to touch a single ear of corn. How do you think the farm works, Lauren? Do you think the corn shucks itself?
She genuinely thinks the farm works via a smartphone app. And by the way, while we are on the subject of corn, I learned something fascinating today.
Oh, from the message boards again?
From the Lancaster farming forums. The agriculture nerds were going off. Did you know there's a major difference between field corn and sweet corn?
What? No, corn is corn. It is yellow and it grows on a stalk.
Wrong. The corn they were shucking was field corn. Braden even tells them, this is field corn, you make chips out of it.
Okay, so it is not sweet corn.
Apparently, field corn is hard and starchy. And fun fact, you cannot even grow popcorn in Texas because the climate gets so hot in the summer that the kernels just pop right in the field before harvest.
Shut up. Pops right in the field. That is the most random, incredible fact I have ever heard.
Look at us, elevating our minds and learning actual agricultural science on a reality TV show recap.
We are practically credentialed farmers now. But anyway, Lauren's refusal to shuck the field corn completely backfires on her.
Braden starts looking at her entirely differently. You can see the gears turning in his head.
He says in his confessional that watching her sit on a bucket was eye-opening, as it absolutely should be.
But meanwhile, Brett is over in Tennessee making his girls move a giant, steaming pile of mulch with pitchforks.
While he, quote-unquote, supervises, which translates to him standing there with his hands firmly in his pockets while 5 women do his heavy yard work.
Typical. A man observing women's labor. But this is where that dynamic gets really interesting.
He pulls Quinn aside. Quinn is the 26-year-old from Idaho, and she has this very dry, understated, sarcastic banter.
Which I love. Sarcastic banter is the fastest way to my heart. It shows intelligence.
They're sitting there on the tailgate, and out of nowhere, she asks him if he can blink his eyes individually.
And then she does this weird, fluttery, uncoordinated half blink.
And she tells him with a totally straight face that it might be a medical condition.
And Brett absolutely loses it. The robotic AI farmer exterior completely shatters into a million pieces.
He laughs so hard, his cowboy hat literally falls off his head.
It was the most genuine moment of the entire episode. It wasn't forced. It wasn't a heavy conversation about loyalty or financial freedom.
It was just 2 regular people making a stupid, goofy joke and actually connecting on a human level.
It was incredibly refreshing. But of course, the producers cannot let them just have a nice, peaceful day.
Because the sun goes down, the dramatic music swells, and it is time for the Dinner of Doom.
The Dinner of Doom. Host Kimberly sends a formal letter to all 3 farms.
And the letter says, if you're struggling to find a romantic connection, tonight at dinner will be your first chance to say goodbye.
The sheer, unadulterated panic that set in over those 3 dining room tables, it was palpable. You could cut the tension with a steak knife.
Sean is sitting with his girls at the big mansion table, and he admits to them that he is overwhelmed by the process.
And Carson, the 25-year-old from Texas, looks at this 22-year-old boy and bluntly tells him that if he dumps her right now, she wouldn't even be heartbroken.
She said she barely knows him. I stood up and clapped. I love Carson.
She refused to feed his ego. Sean looked visibly, physically shocked.
He pulled her outside to the patio to clarify because his brain couldn't process a woman not fawning over him, and she doubled down.
She was like, I'm not attached to you. If I go home, my life goes right back to normal. It's fine.
He could not handle it. He is so used to these girls validating his family's wealth, fawning over the estate, and Carson just humbled him completely.
It challenged him. And honestly, I think it made him like her 10 times more.
Oh, 100%. A certain type of man absolutely loves when you show them that you do not care about them.
So Sean goes back to the dining table and announces he is keeping everyone. He doesn't have the guts to send anyone home yet.
Brett basically does the exact same thing. He pulls Quinn aside, gets reassured by her, and then tells the table he's keeping everyone.
But then we get to Braden.
Braden and Lauren, the corn-shucking observer and the annoyed farmer. Braden pulls her outside into the freezing cold night air.
And she immediately goes on the defensive. She knows she messed up with the bucket incident.
She tells him, I am from New York, so I am not afraid to hurt your feelings.
She said she is going to be honest and not pretend to have a connection to waste time.
She was preemptively dumping him. She knew he was mad about the corn, so she tried to beat him to the punch.
And Brady's just standing there looking so incredibly confused by her entire existence.
He says he is trying to find a connection, but he just doesn't know if it's there. And then, bam, screen goes black.
To be continued. A classic, brutal producer cliffhanger.
I was screaming at the TV, send her packing, Braden! She doesn't want to shuck your field corn.
We will have to agonizingly wait for next week to see if she goes home.
But that is the core of the recap, babes. We have so much psychology to unpack here.
Let's move into our broader analysis because we need to deeply dissect the power dynamics happening on these farms.
Let's start with segment 1, a farm chemistry check. Who actually has a real connection and who is forcing it purely for the plot?
I think out of all 3 farms, out of all 15 women, there is only one connection that is undeniably real.
Brett and Quinn.
Completely agree. I know he had the picturesque romantic solo date with Cassie and the whole intense eye-reading thing.
But that felt very heavily produced, like they were both playing the assigned roles of romantic lead in a script they were handed.
But with Quinn, when Brett's stiff-guarded exterior melted because of a ridiculous joke about a medical blinking condition, that is actual chemistry.
You cannot fake that kind of spontaneous belly laugh reaction. It was completely unforced.
Exactly. It disarmed him entirely. He wants to do things the right way and not jump into physical touch too quickly.
But Quinn didn't try to be overtly sexy or profound. She didn't ask him pageant questions about loyalty.
She just scooped some mulch, made a dumb joke, and he was hooked. That is how real human beings connect.
Now, on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, forcing it for the plot.
Sean and Elizabeth.
If I have to watch another interaction between those two, I might need medical attention. I am still violently cringing remembering the duck call scene.
It was so deeply forced. Elizabeth is terrified of the dirt, terrified of the bugs, terrified of the sheer silence of the country.
And Sean is trying to force this fun, outdoorsy dynamic onto a girl who clearly just wants to go back inside, plug in her curling iron, and do hair.
It was silent, painful, and entirely forced by the producers needing footage of them interacting.
But here is the real wild card in the chemistry check. Braden and Carson.
Oh, this is tough. Because they had a great date. The rodeo was visually fun. But is it real?
See, this is where it gets really interesting. Is it a genuine emotional connection, or is she just a highly trained pageant queen who knows how to play the game?
She knows how to hit her marks perfectly.
Mm.
She asked the probing questions about loyalty to create emotional depth.
She smiled perfectly on the mechanical bull for the cameras.
And then she went back to the house and marked her territory with the fridge photos. That is not someone falling madly, helplessly in love.
That is someone executing a tactical strategy. Carson is playing to win.
She wants the title of wife, the exact same way she wanted the title of Miss Texas. I don't know if she actually wants Braden the Illinois corn farmer.
But she definitely wants to win the season. Okay, moving on to segment 2, our City Girl Survival Guide.
Who is clearly not built for farm life, and it's painfully obvious to everyone watching.
I feel like we both have very strong, volatile feelings about this. I need to unload my emotions right now.
Go off, please.
Lauren. On Braden's farm, she is an ICU nurse from New York. She works in one of the most high-stress, clinical, exhausting environments on the planet.
And she comes on this show and says her absolute dream is to raise kids on a farm.
But when presented with an actual fundamental farm chore, shucking field corn, she refuses to touch it.
I will read her down right now. Lorna wants a husband. She does not want a farmer.
Exactly.
Let me explain the cognitive dissonance here. She wants the idyllic scenery. She wants the cute baby goats. She wants the Instagram aesthetic of holding a wicker basket of fresh eggs.
While wearing a linen dress.
But she wants absolutely 0% of the actual manure, sweat, calluses, and 5 a.m. wake-up calls.
Yes, you nailed it. You do not get to be a farmer's wife without doing the farm work. The delusion is staggering.
She wants the identity of an agricultural lifestyle while inherently rejecting the labor required to sustain it.
When she told Braden, I'm not afraid to hurt your feelings because I'm from New York, I was like, you are actively failing the survival guide.
You are insulting the man whose literal livelihood you are refusing to participate in. She is not built for it.
And neither is Elizabeth on Sean's farm. Poor Elizabeth.
Her absolute terror During the wild produce picking, she was acting like Sean asked her to disarm a live explosive, not pick a piece of kale.
And the hide-and-seek game just proved she does not have the rugged confidence required for this environment.
She is sweet, but she is going to get eaten alive by the wild dandelions.
Okay, segment 3. Pick me or pick him, who is trying way too hard and who is actually being chosen organically.
Trying too hard, peak pick-me behavior goes to Carson.
The fridge pictures.
The fridge pictures. Like we debated earlier, taking the photo booth pictures from your date and immediately plastering them on the communal fridge before the other women arrive.
It is psychological warfare.
It is a villainous move to ice out the competition. It screams desperation, thinly veiled as confidence.
It is territorial, and it worked because Brittany was immediately insecure. But it is the definition of trying too hard to assert dominance.
Now, who is actually being chosen without having to try? Quinn.
Quinn didn't have to put pictures on a fridge. She didn't have to interrogate Brett about his loyalty by a fire pit.
She just showed up, scooped some mulch into a wheelbarrow, made a weird joke about her eyelid, and completely disarmed the man.
Because authenticity always wins in these highly produced situations. When you try too hard to manipulate the narrative, like Carson.
Or when you try the failed, hard-to-get routine like Lauren, it usually backfires.
Oh my God, Lauren's hard to get routine. She really thought sitting at the corn shucking to observe with Braden would make her look high value and aloof.
Like, I am above this manual labor, I am a queen, entertain me.
And instead, it just made Braden question her entire existence on his farm.
He literally said in his confessional, I want someone who wants this life. Sitting on a plastic bucket complaining about your nails is the antithesis of wanting the life.
It is a fundamental misunderstanding of the assignment, which leads us perfectly into our final segment, love or lifestyle.
Are these women actually here for love or just the farm fantasy?
This is the big question, especially with Sean, because Sean is terrified, absolutely paralyzed by the fear that these girls just want his family's money.
He brings it up constantly.
Which, again, I have to push back on heavily. If Sean is so worried about women only wanting him for his wealth, then why did he bring them to a massive estate with a private zipline and a dune buggy on day one?
Exactly. Make it make sense.
If he genuinely wanted someone to love him for him, he should have met them in the wild.
He should have taken them to a local dive bar or a rented apartment or literally anywhere that doesn't scream generational wealth.
You cannot flex the massive family bank account immediately and then complain that the women like the bank account.
It is a trap of his own making.
Yeah.
And Olivia fell right into it with the financially free comment.
But if we connect this to the bigger picture, it's not just about Sean's money. It is about the media representation of farm life.
The Yellowstone fantasy.
Exactly. Shows like Yellowstone have completely warped people's minds.
These women watch Kevin Costner and Kelly Riley on a Sunday night, and they want the rugged Carhartt jackets, the sunset wine on the wraparound porch.
They want the aesthetic, but they do not want the reality. The reality is smelling like livestock.
The reality is blowing off the combine, which Braden said is his least favorite chore.
The reality is calluses, sunburns, and tannicking because the price of soybeans just dropped.
They want the lifestyle, but a highly sanitized Pinterest board version of the lifestyle.
And I think that's the core tension of this entire show. Can these farmers figure out who actually wants to wake up at 5 a.m. to shovel manure and who just wants a cute Instagram grid?
I am so invested. I need to know who survives the cornfields and who gets sent back to their high-rise apartments in the city.
We are fully embarrassingly strapped in for season 4, babes.
We really are. But that brings us to the end of our discussion today. Thank you so much to the Snark Squad for hanging out and drinking with us tonight.
Make sure you share this show with a messy friend who loves reality TV as much as we do. And please rate and review. It helps us out so much.
And just a final thought. We started this episode completely confused about the passage of time, spiraling about aging in early 2000s reality shows.
And we ended up fully, embarrassingly invested in whether a 26-year-old corn farmer from Illinois is going to eliminate an ICU nurse for not shucking field corn.
Life comes at you fast, babes. It really does.
But it makes you wonder, in an era where our daily lives are entirely dictated by glowing screens, spreadsheets, and algorithms, are we actually craving a genuine return to the land? Or are we just craving the performance of it?
Wow. Okay, Socrates, stay curious.
Silly chaotic. And we will see you on the Snark side.